welcome to the Managing Change series from SpeakIn. I hope you're all doing, well at your home. And so this is the next video in the line of videos that we've had from international experts. And today we have a special guest with us, Bill, who's an internationally acclaimed thought leader who's known for extremely useful content and his passion for making it easier for everyone to work smarter, not harder. His first book, Simplicity, was the number 5 leadership management book on Amazon in 2000. His most recent books, Disrupt, Think Epic, Be Epic, and The Courage Within Us, reveal the secrets of success through bold ideas and by unleashing your own greatness. His next book is Future Strong. Bill holds degrees in communication design and organizational development. Thank you so much for being here with us, Bill.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure. We've been lucky in this time, thankfully that everybody's home, that we're getting to meet all of you and hear from all of you. So it's been a silver lining in the cloud. So Bill, the people are waiting. We have quite a lot of participants, so let's just jump right in. And the first question that I have for you is that, according to you, how the state of affairs in the industry right now, and what would the scenario be like in 2020, further ahead?
Thank you for the question, and good evening to everybody in India. Hi, I'm in Metro New York area, and it's my morning still. Your question, first, if anybody could answer your question solidly, knowingly, they're a fool. Absolutely no one knows where 2020 is going to go. None of us. And the state of industry and the state of business and the state of your world is a state of flux. We are all, I've been working in change and organizational transformation for 30 years. I have never, ever seen anything like this. This is taking all of us to a completely new level. The coronavirus is changing everything. I know many of you are listening to me from home. I heard a statistic yesterday, not just in our workplaces, but 9 out of every 10 school children around the globe are at home and not in schools. So think about what that is doing to our future generation, the future of work, the future of leadership, the future of the world. We're missing out on school days. 9 out of every 10 school kids on the entire globe are at home and not in school. So everything is in a state of flux. And if there's ever been a time where personal resilience and team resilience is becoming so important, I would say that's the state of the industry, is that we are all being tested as to how we can endure, adapt, and be personally resilient during these times and stay focused.
What are some of the mission critical components that one should focus on in the times to survive through this phase?
Well, it's a great question, and let me take it to a personal level, not organization. When most leaders use mission critical, it means how do we focus on things for the company? I want to respond to your question and to everybody who's watching on a personal level, what it means to you, mission critical, to you as an individual, as a leader, or as a frontline manager, or as a frontline worker. I've got 4 bits of advice. The first is to take stock, reflect, and reimagine new possibilities because of this. It's almost, I saw a meme on the internet the other day that said, it's like Mother Nature sent us all to our room and to think about what we just did. This is a moment not just to get through it, if you have kids at home, and not to deal with the daytime, childcare and at-home teaching. It's for a time for all of us to reflect on what truly matters. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. What truly matters to you personally, what truly matters in the world, and are you focused on that? So one of the things I would recommend when it comes to take stock, reflect, and reimagine new possibilities is please be personally journaling. Please write down your thoughts as to what you're going through. So that's number 1. Number 2, study mission critical. Your question was around mission critical. Study what's called the soft stuff. behind all the virus-driven changes that we're going through, especially when it comes to teleworking. So many companies would not let employees work from home because we had to control them. We had to watch them in their cubicles. Now the entire world is teleworking. Don't focus so much on the technology or the exact transactional changes. Focus on people, how they are connecting or not connecting. Focus on how people need each other. Focus on the human side of all of this. Study the human side of what is happening right now, especially if you are not a global leader in charge of governmental responses. Study your neighborhood, study your house, study your teammates, and watch what they're going through. Become a student of human nature during this time. So it was first was take stock, number 2, and please journal. Number 2 was study the soft stuff. Number 3 is discover your teammates that you know day in and day out, but you don't, you know they're married or they have a boyfriend or girlfriend, but you don't really know them. Study and discover the people side of things, the real life stories. In the United States here, there's a TV show called Undercover Boss, and the undercover boss always goes out undercover in disguise and works among the workers and discovers completely new things about their needs, about their home life. A single mom struggling, to get through everything, and the CEO had no idea the hardships he put this person through. Study what's happening behind the scenes and what people have to go through in order to make things happen. In my household, the other adult in my household is a teacher for underprivileged kids, and she's so concerned for those children. And it hurts her. Her heart aches every day because she's worried about those children every day because they don't have what they need through the support of the school. So number 3 is discover people's real life stories. Ask somebody you know that you barely know, what's going on? How are you surviving? What's going on in your house? What do you need? Ask them questions like that. And the 4th thing is the most important. I want all of you to consider, what do you want your legacy to be? Now, when I use that term legacy, most people think, oh, I have to die. We only do that at my eulogy, at my funeral. No, you don't have to die to do this. Your legacy is the impact that you leave behind on others. It's not necessarily about you, how good of a person you are. It's not necessarily about your product or your services that you did. It's the impact that you had on others. If you die and 100 people came to your funeral, they would say, this person had the impact on my life. She made me happier. He made me a better person. I grew because of her. Think about the impact that you have on others. And I want you to put a date on it. It's now April 2020. I want you to think about April 2023. 3 years from now. What is the impact you want to have on the world? What I'm calling your legacy. What do you want your legacy to be? And there's a specific reason I cited 3 years from now, 2023. Because the amount of change that we are all going to go through, one scientist has pegged the rate is more change is going to happen in the next 20 years than in all of the past 2,000. Now that's incomprehensible. That's a lifetime's worth of change, depending on how much tech you use, in the next 1.5 to 3 years. So I took the outside measure. Everyone who's watching me right now, are going to experience a lifetime's worth of change within 3 years. That is why I'm asking you to consider what your legacy is about. And I'll give you mine. It's deeply personal, but my legacy began on July 14th, 1994. And that was the night my mom died. And what happened, she had a massive stroke. She was taken to the hospital, and we were all, my 2 sisters and my family, their families and my family were there. And the doctors told us she's not going to make it through the night. We want you all to go up to the ICU, the intensive care unit that's on the 4th floor, and wait for her. And we went and we waited for 5 minutes, no mom, 10, 20, 30 minutes, no mom. Finally, at 40 minutes, I was waiting for my father to take charge, but he's not, but he's not take charge kind of guy. So finally, at 40 minutes, I went ballistic. I was a really bad person. I kicked, I screamed, I cursed, but I got people's attention. And the doctors and nurses came over, and they were all empathetic, and they were really caring. But if you strip away the empathy, they said, sorry, your mom's been dying all alone in the corner of the emergency room. Nobody's holding her hand. Nobody's with her. She's dying by herself. And it was all because of a miscommunication between the emergency room and the intensive care unit. Nobody knew to go pick her up. So ER thought they had handed her off. ICU never knew to go get her. So why do I say that is my legacy? My legacy comes from my mom. And it taught me that life is precious. We never know when we're not going to get those next 40 minutes with somebody. So everything that I do, every webinar, every coaching I do with executives, every keynote that I do, I make sure you understand, you on the other end of this message, that life is precious. If you do nothing else because of this webinar, turn around if they're in your home, or call them, or video chat with them. Give somebody a hug. Tell somebody you love them. That would make this a successful webinar. And this ties directly back. This is not just fluff, personal stuff. This ties directly to mission critical. There's the most important number in business that happens every day. Nobody ever talks about. And it's the number 1,440. Nobody ever talks about it, but that's the number of minutes in a day. No matter how hard you work, no matter how many teammates you had, no matter how much technology you use, you can only exist for 1,440 minutes every day. Now, I lost 40 of those minutes with my mom, and I'm never, ever going to get them back. As a result of this webinar, I want you, all of you, mission critical for you, is to start treating life as more precious. That you only get 1,440 minutes every day, and treat every single one of those minutes as precious. So what are the most mission critical things that I want all of you to do out there? 4 things for you personally. Take stock, reflect, journal. Think about how you are changing. Number 2, study the soft stuff, the people-related things that are going on. The economy and technologists will reign supreme as soon as this is over, and they're going to push us in a direction. Make sure you remember that people mattered and what matters to you. 3rd is discover what matters to other people. Discover other people's real life stories. Get to know somebody you work with or that you're an acquaintance with deeper over the next few weeks and months. And then finally, what do you want your legacy to be? 3 years from now. Think about that and start implementing it as you come out of this virus, because your legacy is the thing, your lasting impact. This thing, for most of us, while there are many deaths around the world, for most of us, this will be a difficult trial, but we'll get through it. Your legacy is the thing that the world is going to remember about you. So please focus on that.
For me, I have goosebumps on, and truly, I think this is the time we're all started to realize, that life is precious. You never know what's going to happen and what's going to strike you next. Just where you might just get the virus. So true. I mean, it's really, life is precious. And thank you for these pointers. I think we can all, use these in our life.
If I may add one other thing, I've been fortunate to travel the world, including India. And what I have found, transactional items are different country by country, company by company, policies, procedures, difficulties in your day. But human nature, being human with each other, that's universal. So the workshops that I've done in Mumbai, in New Delhi, we all said, here's how an American is, looks at things differently than you do, but here's what we all have in common. So around the globe, people matter. Being connected matters. Our humanness matters, ultimately.
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially at a time like this, totally.
Yes.
That's all that matters. So, yes. For the next one, Bill, so as per you, when do you think our economy is going to pick up? I mean, and what are some of the risks and challenges, sorry, that we're most likely to face when that happens?
Well, again, the question is above my pay grade. If anybody really knows the answer, I don't think, there are people that are global economists that are just going like shrug their shoulders, go, I don't know. From everything that I've been studying, we will start coming out of this in the next couple months. But whether this is a deep recession or just a blip in the road, we have yet to to discover. But the second part of your question was what? When are we going to come out of it? And what were you asking me in the second part of your
What are
question?
some of the things that we'll have to face, when we do come out of it?
Thank you for asking that question, because that relates to everything I just covered. What the toughest things we're going to have to face is that we're all tied together. We all treat the global economy like, oh, I'm rich, you're poor, that doesn't impact me. What the virus has done is it doesn't matter your economic standing, your gender, your race, your religion. It impacts us, your country. It flows across the world without discriminating against any of us. So the biggest thing to learn and to focus on is how are we all connected? What you do impacts 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million other people. What other people do, for example, in the virus, and not taking proper care of washing hands or covering face or anything else, impacts you. So the biggest thing to focus on is that, again, the transactional details will take care of themselves by the mandates of your organization, of your business, of your country. But the thing to remember is how interconnected we are and how important each of us, each and every one of us are. And we are currently leaving far too many people behind. And we need to remember the people we're leaving behind. That's our interconnectedness is the thing to focus on.
Rightly said. So, one of the things that we were talking about, working from home, which is recently just picked up all over the world. Do you think this trend will stay on? And how do you think we can
Absolutely.
adapt to this
Absolutely.
efficiently?
Even if it's not because of a virus, even if it's not because of the economy, um, what is happening is there are so many pressures on all of us. And the main reason we have not had as good as technology as we have today, but we have had remote working technology for at least a decade, possibly two. The problem has never been the technology. The problem has been organization cultures and organizational leaders towards productivity and efficiency. We all had to be working in a cubicle that somebody could watch over us in order to be efficient and effective. Now that's BS. that has never been true. People can take great personal. Yes, we will all struggle. Not everybody is made for working at home. We're all social beings. Some of us need to be in social circles at our workplaces, but not everybody has to, and not everybody has to 5 days a week or every single day. Or every single full complete day. So yes, this is absolutely going to start a wave. Zoom has taken off because it was a good technology before. It's taken off across the globe because it's one of the biggest enablers, and its ease of use is going to be crucial. So that your grandmother can use the technology has to be the criteria. So it will take off, but make sure your technology, there's one company in Seattle, Washington, who I won't name, but their technology is nowhere near, their group technology is nowhere near as easy to use as this one that we're using right now. So from a tech perspective, it has to be, how old is your oldest grandparent, and can they easily use the technology? That's the simple metric on ease of use and being user centered. But coming out of it, once we develop those technologies, yes, we will, being remote when appropriate or needed. We are social beings. Sometimes we all need to be connected in the same physical space, but it absolutely will trend this way because it is more efficient and more effective, and it always has been. People can run errands, people can do their laundry while they're working, people can watch their kids while they're working. They can do that and be efficient and effective at the same time. The reason has never been that we don't have the technology. The reason has always been corporate culture, corporate leadership. So the reason this will change is not technology, not viruses. It's leaders are going to have to change.
True that. And also the kind of time that we're saving, commuting, and the petrol that we're saving, and
Yes.
ultimately the environment. So yeah.
Yes, I've commuted through downtown New Delhi. I know what it's like. Yes.
It's always fun. God.
Yes.
But yeah, New York traffic is nothing to beat. I mean, it's the same,
Right.
I guess. Yeah. All right. So Bill, according to you, how will the consumer behavior change, post COVID-19, and what are the things, some things that the company should do to cater to the change?
Well, one thing that's just going to increase that's been happening for the last decade or so is online retailing. The ease and the use of getting anything we want shipped to us. That will put increased pressure on the supply chains, on the productivity of the fulfillment centers, on the reliability and trust factors that we have with those things. But that has been happening. That will always continue to happen. What's putting us front and center right now is going back to the humanity of things. The consumer trend has begun already. It's already in progress, but it's going to be increased far greater after the virus, is something that's called design thinking. And design thinking puts the consumer at the center. And we always work backwards from the consumer's needs. So what's going to happen more and more is we're going to start developing products and services and technologies that are much more user-centered, because consumers will demand it, because they were able to get most everything they needed at that touch of the technology. So I would say I don't see anything new necessarily as far as consumer. Well, one thing that it is new. I don't know. You can tell me whether this is global, but at least in the United States, as soon as everybody started panicking, the first thing that got sold out was toilet paper. And no artificial intelligence, no technology, no expert ever predicted that would happen.
Right.
So what's going to happen, that as part of this, we need to have a better understanding of weird human behavior. Things will happen that are unexpected because we are humans and we act in strange ways. Now, the run on toilet paper was silly, but it happened, and it will continue to happen. Things like that will continue to happen. So it puts an emphasis on the technologies and the industrial psychologists and the leaders and the consumer researchers to put more and more emphasis on how we are as weird human beings and to better understand our behavior. And that how to do that, the art and science is already there. It's called design thinking. So that's going to be ramped up in the coming years.
Absolutely right. I think that's also the need of the hour. So Bill, apart from that, any final pointers that you would like to share with us? And also I would like to tell the audience that we're going to be taking questions after this. So if there are any, please feel free to share.
Sure. The last thoughts that I want to come back to where we were in the beginning. Everything is about the human story. Everything is about changing. And my next book that's coming up, it's a fable, and it's called The Day Tomorrow Said No. And I wrote this before the virus, and I'm adapting it now to make sure it includes the virus. But the fable is there are three characters: today, tomorrow, and little one. And the inciting incident in the story is tomorrow says no to the handoff from today because today hadn't prepared 8 billion people for the future, and that we were leaving too many people behind. But the point is, this virus at this moment in time should teach us that we are leaving far too many of our people behind. And that's the thing I want us to focus on, not just on how we recover, but how everybody around the world recovers. The question is, what way do you think the crisis is a great leveler? Thank you for the question. It really has shown us. Think about going back to the point that it didn't matter what your economic status was, or what religion you were, or what color you were, or what country you're in. Everybody on Earth could be affected by this virus. So what it's teaching us, we need to remember, just like the Jews from World War II said, never forget, always remember. We need to remember, all of us need to remember that it already has been the great leveler, that every person on the planet can be affected by this, and we had to take care of each other. So that's in what way do I think the crisis is the great leveler? The real lesson to be learned is, will we remember this a year from now, 5 years from now, a lifetime from now? Another question is how to remain positive during tough situations. Always invest in yourself. Know what makes you happy, know what you struggle with. Take time for yourself. Take time out every day. I have a condition called lupus, and a medical condition, and it causes me to have a physical limit on my day. There's only so many hours a day and I work. I've learned to take a nap in the middle of the day. So for me, it's a nap. For you, it may be meditation. It may be a walk. It may be a bicycle ride. It may be a drive. But how do you remain positive? Two things: yourself and others. Take a moment for yourself. Read, watch a movie, take a nap, go for a walk. Invest in yourself every single day, and invest in others. The biggest way we help our own psychology is helping someone else. So the more you can help someone else with whatever they're going through, the more you will remain happy and resilient and positive during tough decisions. The next question is, do you think this will erase barriers across the world to do business? No trade regulations, and good for global entrepreneurship. There's optimistic Bill answer, and there's pragmatic, practical Bill answer. As an optimist, I want to believe, yes, this will erase barriers across the world to do business. As a pragmatist, there are only two core human emotions out there: love and fear. What is driving the barriers across the world is fear. I don't want those immigrants crossing my country. I don't want that, them impacting my job. We've seen that with the UK leaving the EU. We've seen that in the current policies from the United States. It's as much fear of the other as it is anything else. So as a realist, as a pragmatist, unfortunately, I have to say the barriers will still be up. The difficulties will still be up. As an optimist, I'm hopeful that will change, and I pray that will change. Another question is, kids are seeing more impact as they cannot go out and play, so they have more screen time, more mobile, how can they be more engaged in a more meaningful way? Ultimately, that comes down to the parents. Sole responsibility, the parents. In this family and the household I'm in, we have theme days, we have dress-up dinners, and it's not my doing. My partner Penny is doing all of that work. But it's the responsibility of the parents to get their kids off the screens and to get them more engaged. Teach them about the world. Take them for walks. Take them on virtual tours of the world. Teach them about values. Give them some hard work. So the way to get everybody off their screens in a meaningful way, especially as it relates to under college age students, that solely is on the shoulders and responsibility of the parents. That comes down to parenting, essentially. I see a question that is, it says specific to coaching and training. I'm not sure if I understand that correctly. Tell me if I did. But I think the question is, what are the changes that are coming that we can see that the virus is causing and that's happening specific to how we coach and we train others? I've covered one part of training and coaching already. Make sure you understand there's a real person behind all of this. Make sure you understand the personal tensions, the problems, the challenges. That is going to be crucial. But specifically to coaching and training, there will be a much greater increase in doing that virtually. Many of the most heartfelt and best coaching and training we ever get was face-to-face, because we love the personal connections. More and more of us are going to have to learn how to coach and train others virtually. And don't just do the automated check it off the box coaching and training. Deeply personal, challenging people, stretching people. Another question comes up, the definition of leadership post COVID-19. Again, what's old again is new again. Look up Robert Greenleaf. He came up in the 1970s with something called servant leadership, that the goal of every leader is to serve those he or she is leading. And how do you serve people? So the real definition of leadership is understanding how to be a leader of others by serving them. And there are several leaders who are exemplifying, global leaders who are exemplifying this kind of servant leadership. They're all around the world in government, they're in industry. Study the people that you admire that are stepping up and treating this crisis not just from a logistical problem or an economic problem or a productivity problem, but a human problem. Those are the leaders we need to study. Another question is, what will the psychological impact on the working class be post-COVID-19, and will business and government be able to deal with? A great question. Optimist, pragmatist. I am sorry to say we're going to have more sucky leaders still after this. They're not going to go away. But I'm hoping a new class of leaders emerge that deal with the psychological impact. And even me as a consumer, when I call up the people that I owe money, mortgage, health, insurance, how I am treated is completely different company by company. Some have trained their people on the other end of the phone to recognize there's a psychological impact. And it's not just, oh, we'll delay your payment for a month. It's, tell me about your hardship. Are you okay? So the psychological impact on the working class, another meme I saw recently on the internet was, it's amazing how our heroes are no longer basketball stars or movie stars. The real heroes are the healthcare workers, the food care, the food delivery people, the healthcare workers, the doctors, the nurses, the educators. We now have a great understanding of the educators, how heroic they are. So it's really the working class are the heroes of today's economy. Because they disappeared, the economy falls flat. And we're beginning to understand that. So the more we begin to put ourselves in the shoes of the working class, the more we're going to be able to understand the psychological impact. Now, I know we have limited time. There's a few more questions. Do we have time for them, or
Yes,
how are we
we can
doing?
just take these last two ones, I think, and then we'll have to end the session.
It's okay.
So,
Do you think that the virtual world, although getting us interconnected like through Zoom right now, is, however, missing the human touch element in it? Absolutely. So, yes, be virtual like this as you need to be. But also, Make sure you have dinner with somebody, your family. Make sure that you're able, even if in these times where we're supposed to be social distancing, sit in each other's backyards, or sit, on a shared porch a few feet away from each other, the safe distance they tell us to, and have a beer together or drink together. Yes, absolutely, the human touch is crucial. With the people that you can physically hug and touch, do it every single day. For those that you can't, make sure you're in the same proximity and sitting together. Don't just rely on this technology. And the last question we have for today is how to avoid being left behind in the change. What are the specific things we need to imbibe to really stay forward and informed? Well, obviously, I hope all of you email me so I can send you my free book and sell you my next book. But separate from the self-serving answer there, go out and buy tomorrow, the day tomorrow said no, when it comes out, separate from the completely self-serving commercial that I just put in. How do we avoid being left behind in this change? Is recognize that training and development is no longer the responsibility of the company. It is every individual's responsibility. And the biggest thing you need to focus on is how well you are disrupting yourself. That is one of my past books. It's called Disrupt. Think Epic, Be Epic. And your ability to disrupt yourself and change. Right now, the disruptions were all forced upon you. Can you keep, here's a simple metric for thinking about how you can avoid being left behind in this change. Can you keep up this rate of change without global economics or viruses forcing it on you? Can you be more adaptable, more resilient? Can you force yourself to change? And a simple way, I'll give it to you before I close, go back to work and re-examine your project portfolio. Your project portfolio is like your financial portfolio. In your financial portfolio, you have high risk, low risk things. For every 5 projects that you have, I want you to seek out at least one, so the ratio is 4 to 1, at least one every project that scares the living hell out of you, that you have no idea how you're going to do it. You have no resources. You have no money. You have no possibility. You don't have enough time. Seek out at least one out of every 5 projects. So manage your portfolio, your project portfolio. So one out of every, at least, if not more, at least one out of every 5 projects scares the living hell out of you. But intentionally take that on. That way, you will be disrupting yourself at the rate of change at the marketplace. And that's the answer to how to avoid being left behind in this change.
You've certainly given us a lot of food for thought, Bill. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for your time. I think we've had a wonderful session, and I think everybody in the audience also did ask questions. So thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.